we begin in the Middle Ages, which meant going to Richard Hammond's garden.
Now, sticking with electric cars, the iconic London black taxi has gone electric. We've got a picture of it here. There it is. I've ridden it. I've driven it as well, actually, and it's excellent. It's very, very smooth, very comfortable, and obviously it's very quiet, which means you can hear the driver's views on immigration more clearly.
Everybody always says, I'm sorry, I like black cabs. I use them all the time.
Yeah, you really are a dinosaur.
I just hate Uber.
I hate Uber.
How do you hate Uber?
Well, it just works.
Have you seen how they drive? They're appalling, dithering about in the middle of junctions and they don't know where they're going, and it's always a price. And I hate those commercials where they say, not all of our drivers are rapists. That's not really a slogan, is it? I'm sorry, I will not get in with... And listen, I've only got 175,000 hours left.
If you don't stop saying how many hours you've got left, I shall make it less.
Look,
a lot less.
Yeah, I'm with him. It's a tricky and obviously sensitive area, but my advice is, if you want to lower your car insurance premium, don't walk into this minefield of whether or not you can declare yourself to be a woman. Simply declare yourself to be a vicar.
Yeah. That's a good idea, because they do have cheap insurance, don't they?
They do have very cheap car insurance, and if you're a vicar, you can still wear a dress.
Yeah,
there you go.
So everybody wins.
Everybody wins. More consumer advice. Ooh, now. And her examiner was in another car following along behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it used to be in Egypt that you had to drive 6 feet forwards, but then 6 feet backwards, and then you'd pass.
And that was it.
I'd love to meet somebody who failed that.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we figured that to get a Chinese driving test, it would be, you know, quite an easy test. However, we were in for a bit of a surprise. Now, I actually got some footage of Hammond taking his test. Anyone want to see it? Yeah? It's poor quality, it's on my phone, but here we go. Test centre. Right, so he has to ball his fists. Then a squat. There he goes. He goes. And then he has to get on some weigh scales. Tense moment here, tense moment. Still tense. Yeah. You passed. Hammond has passed. Seriously? Just I've ever heard
I know,
of.
basically I passed because I proved that my hands do that and I'm affected by gravity. That's it.
I think it is actually just a test to check that you are a human being and not a dog, because they can't.
That's all it was. However, afterwards, we were taken into a sort of lecture theatre by a man who talked us through the perils of the road in China, and he said that we had to look out for a number of things running out into the road in front of us, including, and I'm not... This is a quote, yes, you will back me up on this. This is what he said, including dogs, children and women.
That's what he said.
Yes, he said be careful, they run out into the road.
Oh, you never know, they're unpredictable.
Yeah, I don't think the #MeToo movement has reached Chongqing just yet.
Yeah, it'll get better, and the vast majority of people simply recharge at night. That's what I do with mine.
I know, but if you go on a long journey, you can't take your house with you. You've got to charge up somewhere else.
But electric charging points are springing up everywhere at the moment at quite a rate.
I agree.
They
They are. But look at it this way, OK? The second most boring thing a man can do is filling up with petrol. Second most after...
Trying on
trousers. Yeah. We all agree that's the worst thing.
It's just a fact.
The second most boring thing you can do is fill up with petrol, which takes, what, 3 minutes?
Yes.
Charging a car up's like 40 minutes, and I haven't got time for that.
No, but it's 40 minutes. It's getting... You can do it in less than that now, and it's getting shorter and shorter all the time.
Charging times are plummeting.
Yes, but you've got to go into a service station surrounded by people with smelly bottoms all playing on those slot machines, and 40 minutes, you just think, I've got so much more I'd rather be doing than this. I only have, if I'm lucky, 175,000 hours before I do dying. And I'm not going to waste any of them charging an electric car up. I'm just not.
Hang on. The Spitfire.
Yes.
It was the Hurricane that won the Battle of Britain.
Well, it just wasn't.
No, it just was. There were far more of them. It was easier to build, it was easier to repair, it was easier to fly.
Yeah,
it was.
But that's like saying that a Nissan Juke is better than a Lamborghini Aventador because it's easier to build and there are more of them.
No, it's not like that at all.
It is.
The Hurricane was a much more stable gun platform in the hands of a novice. The Hurricane accounted for more enemy aircraft than all of our other air defences combined.
Yes.
It won.
But the Spitfire, OK, the Spitfire looked glamorous. So you'd look up from the sky and then that improved morale on the ground because people are going, oh, wow, look at that. We can't possibly lose
Yes,
this.
but Morale didn't shoot down enemy aircraft. Hurricanes did.
Yes,
That's
I know, but
simply
if you've got a
fact.
small boy looking out the window, wow, look, there's a Spitfire up there, and I'm going to join the RAF. And that's what we need. He didn't want to fly a Hurricane because it looked like a sad basset hound.
No, it didn't look like a
It
South Basset.
didn't.
And anyway, the best fighter aircraft of World War II was the Messerschmitt 109. Everybody knows
Well, that didn't win the Battle of Britain, did it?
Well, to be honest, nobody won the Battle of Britain. It was a draw.
What? Where have you got that from?
It was a draw.
Chaps!
What?
Chaps! Hate to make this whole thing sound like, I don't know, a car show, but can we get it back to the Jag a bit?
Yes, because I don't want to talk to him anymore about aeroplanes. 'cause-
Okay, remember the Jag.
Can I move it on? I have some interesting conversation.
Oh, good.
There is a man in Canada who has successfully lowered his car insurance premium by declaring himself to be a woman. Now, he hasn't had the operation. He hasn't swapped his beef torpedo for the silken purse. He has merely...
Thank you, Doctor.
He has merely
Just said
taken
beef
advantage
torpedo, didn't he?
of a loophole in the law that allows you to change your gender. Okay?
Torpedo? You actually claim you've got a torpedo?
Everybody calls it that.
A spearfish, he rides into it. Listen, there's a lot of this about. I mean, there was a chap the other day sentenced to some considerable jail time, and as he was sentenced, he went, oh, I've just remembered I'm a woman. And can I go to a lady prison, and preferably one of those like you see on the internet?
Yeah, and it worked.
Well, they sent him to a lady prison. Yeah. Well, sure enough, he's been quite badly behaved.
Yeah, I mean, chaps, I wouldn't advise trying it down your local swimming bath, swaggering into the changing rooms. Morning, ladies. I'm a lady as well, just like you and you. I'll just hang up my suit and my tie there, and I'll go and take a shower with all the rest of them. Oh, my Lord, my vagina's gone all stiff. Look at that. I do apologise.
We actually begin with the French. Now, they don't make a sports car very often, but when they do, literally nobody buys it. We've had the Venturi Atlantique, and then there was the Matra Murena, and then there was the Simca Sport. And all of them fell down the back of the sofa of history.
Yeah, but you're conveniently forgetting to mention the best of the French sports car makers.
Well, that's like saying the best of the airborne plagues. What is it?
No.
Best of the...
No, it isn't. There is one French maker that's been consistently good at making sports cars, and they've made a new one, and I've been testing it.
There's been a lot of talk recently about electric cars, obviously, so we thought we ought to have some conversation about that. Yeah. And I'm going to kick it off, if I may, with the new Audi e-tron. Got a picture of it here. Sure, it's very nice. The only problem is e-tron is the French word for turd.
Is it?
Yes.
They're not going to sell very many of those in France, then, I'm guessing.
No, they probably won't. In the same way that Hyundai, who's just introduced a new car called the Kona, they're not going to be selling too many of those in Portugal.
Well, is Kona Portuguese for turd?
No.
What, then?
It's the one word we can't say.
Although I don't like brown
Things that aren't true. You love a brown car, and you can't
I've
have
never
it
had a brown car, and I am interested in the honky, so tell us more about it.
OK, something I didn't say in the film, which is quite interesting, is that when you order one, they send a tailor round to your place of business, and he measures you up for a suit that you then wear when you take delivery of the car.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd actually quite like to be the tailor who made the suit for you when you take delivery of your honky. It would have some writing on it.
Would it?
Not in Chinese.
Would this-
It would be in English.
Would it be a pithy description of the wearer?
Yes, that's
Yes.
what it was.
Actually,
Yes.
it's funny you should say that, because in China there's a tendency for people to wear clothing with English words written on them. They've obviously got no idea what those words say. I was sitting in a traffic jam one day there, and there was a woman on a bus next to me, and she was a perfectly respectable 50-something woman on her way, obviously, to an office job or whatever. She was wearing a white blouse with red flowers on it. Now, I took a picture. Here it is. Explaining something you do understand in a way that you don't understand.
Look, hang on
That's
a
how
minute.
what?
Hold on a minute. You are a man who can't wind a wristwatch up without taking somebody's eye out, and you claimed in that film that you'd mended the prop shaft on that Alfa Romeo.
I did.
Did you?
Well, I made a phone call.
Did you?
Same thing. No, I made a phone call, and a man, unbelievably, drove all the way from Wiltshire to Inverness with the spare part that I needed.
How generous. And then you mended it.
You got everything you need to blow it up?
Well, there it is. There's the Hurricane Performante. Look, 116.8. And I have guaranteed it'll be faster.
Yeah.
Or you'll blow my house
You're
up.
doing well on facts this week so far, aren't you? How are you feeling?
Totally relaxed.
Are you really? Thing is, we haven't even got far to go to blow it up, have we? It's just going to be over.
Come on, let's see how fast it was.
Damn! That is serious.
That's 4 seconds quicker. That's quicker than the Vulcan, and the Vulcan isn't even road legal. That's absolutely amazing.
That is astonishing, and we can add it to the list of things that you know.
So exciting with those noises.
I like the noises.
Well, you can't like those.
No, there's a whole new set of noises, you pillock.
OK.
It's the future.
OK, let's see how fast you're elegantly entitled N10, no, Neo, EP9.
Yes.
Got round, shall we? Here we go. Top 10?
Come on. There you go. Oh, yeah.
Quicker than
Oh,
an
yes.
Audi.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. That is faster than the Aston Martin Vulcan.
You're absolutely right, Hammond. It is a very impressive car, and it is faster than a Vulcan. But it's slower than the petrol-powered McLaren Senna, which is road legal. So that is petrol 1,
Yes.
electricity 0.
All right, don't do that face. Don't do that face. No.
Smug face.
Not the smug face. James, just move it on. Mind you, you say that. There are 78 self-made billionaire women in the whole world, and 49 of them are Chinese.
Yeah. Well, there would be more, but some of them got run over. Anyway, look, can we talk about that honky for a bit?
I knew you'd want to talk about that. It's so you.
It's interesting,
It's
isn't it?
so
got
you.
him written all over it.
Bad news, though. You can't have it in brown.
Why would I want it in brown?
Oh, yes, you
You
would.
love a brown...
Look, your cars are grey and dark green. Mine are blue, metal fake, red and orange.
I
is
can't see into your mind. God knows I'm not sure I want to. But I know, James May, as you drift off to Sleepy Bobo's tonight, a brown honky will be driving. It just will be. It will.
I don't like brown cars. It's like him saying, I love horses. Things that aren't true. Except it comes with something called a dashboard assistant, which is a little holographic figure that pops up and then you talk to it and it helps you set the sat-nav and make phone calls and so on.
Very high tech.
Yeah. Except the little holographic figure is of a Japanese schoolgirl. And then you can choose what colour miniskirt you'd like her to wear. A picture, I'm not making it up, there's a picture here.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not either, but here's the thing, James. The Chinese don't care what we think, anybody, because they look at us like we look at cows. We're just big, daft things standing around. Only instead of milk, we give them luggage and watches.
And I like Uber. I like the fact that you get the alert that tells you who's coming to pick you up and what sort of car he's driving.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really good.
what's the point? It's a price. It's
No,
always a price.
It isn't always a price. I've got a friend, and she had one coming. This was just before Christmas, as it happened. The driver was from South America, and she got an alert, and it said, Jesus is arriving soon in a Honda Accord. Wow! Which is not what it says in the New Testament.
doesn't.
No, is it?
Who knew?
Anyway, look. What about Hiroshima?
Apart from Hiroshima.
Pompeii.
Yes, apart from Hiroshima and Pompeii, no city has collapsed as fast as Detroit has. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's incredible, the scale of it. There used to be 43 car factories in Detroit. 43. Now, 2.
I know.
Just 2.
Yeah. I actually think it's because America won the war.
Which
weirdly?
Vietnam.
Really?
No, I was lying. They lost that one.
Oh, not in all the films they didn't.
No, they won in the films, but actually, when you add up all the battles they won, weirdly, they lost the war. Incredible, yeah.
No, I'm actually talking about World War II, because at the end of that, Japan had lost its empire, so it lost all its resources, so they were forced to make compact, economical, efficient cars. And then the oil crisis hit in 1973, and the Americans, with their big V8s, were forced to buy small, compact, economical cars from Japan, and then realised they were better.
No, I think it's because American cars are too cheap.
Too cheap.
It's a business thing. That's the problem.
Sorry, everyone, I fear we are about to get an economic lecture from Chancellor Hammond here.
But imagine the size of the internal combustion engine you would need to make 1,900 horsepower. It would
It'd be massive. That's why the future of supercars like that is electric.
It is.
What?
It is. It is. It is.
It is.
That's the way it's going to go. It's the way it is going.
OK, then, let's find out how fast your beloved Neo Goes round the Ebola drone.
Better than all the stuff that Aston used to fit.
That's true.
Is it not?
No, that is true. And the other thing, you expressed surprise that it's got that AMG engine. But you've got to remember the Aston V12 they've been using for years, that's German.
Well, it's made in Germany.
Yes.
Well, that makes it sort of German, doesn't it?
No. It's where it's designed and developed that matters.
No, he has got a point.
Yeah, I mean, your autobiography, you could get it printed in Germany, but it would still be dreary because you designed...
Racetrack in Europe, which is... Actually, anyone want to guess which it is? No, not Monza. Not Spa.
Do you know?
What?
Do you know?
Of course I know.
You know?
Yes.
That's unusual.
Why is it unusual?
Well, you didn't know any of the answers on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, did you?
No, they didn't ask me any of the questions I knew the answers to. Yeah, that's what it was.
No, but it's not called Who Wants to Know Things Jeremy Happens to Know, is it?
Thruxton.
What is?
Thruxton is the fastest racetrack in Europe. So that's where I took the new McLaren. Now, what interests me about it is that there's a claim that it generates so much cornering force, it can cause the driver to black out.
Is that a good idea? A car that renders its driver unconscious?
Well, I mean, I just don't believe it. I know Kimi Raikkonen goes unconscious, but that's normally after the race in the hotel bar.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yes, it is.
That is Kimi's problem.
Well, the other problem with that is it's not lateral G that makes you go unconscious, is it? That's G from side to side. That's
Exactly.
Not really
Lateral
the
G is what you get in a car, and it's where the blood goes from this, you know, so and it can only got that, and I'm wide, but it only goes that far.
Yeah, exactly.
So in your head, you've got one bit, yes, it's a bit drowsy and blackouty, but the other side of your head, when you're going around a corner, is really alert, because it's full of blood.
No, it's more interesting than that, because different sides of your head do different things, don't they? So go that way, and you'd be like, I want to be really precise and do science. Go this way, you'd be all creative. I just want to paint. Algebra. I just want to sing.
You know when motor racing commentators always talk about that car's got 5G going through that car, you think this means 5 lateral G.
Yes, exactly.
It's not the same 5G you get in a fighter plane when you've got the blood's going effectively from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet, which is a very long way. So your head empties, and that's when you do black out.
Yes, exactly. And it used to be alleged that Douglas Bader could pull tighter turns in his Hurricane than other pilots because he didn't have any legs, so the blood couldn't go into them. It stayed in his body.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently so.
Didn't that mean he'd just get a big stiffy?
Well,
Because all his... It's science! That is medical science!
right.
All his blood went there.
He did. He used to be known during the Battle of Britain as Douglas Boner.
My joystick's broken. Oh, I've got the wrong one.
Oh, I love a dogfight. We move on.
Can I just begin by saying that I think the very concept of incongruity was defined in that film in Detroit by James May, the slowest moving man in history, driving around in a car called The Exorcist.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, does it? James May is the exorcist.
No, I mean, if he's going to have a car, it should be called The Florist.
Yeah. Or the organist.
Simple change to that. The Onanist.
Nice.
I think The Onanist would work well.
Have you quite finished?
Yeah.
Good. Actually, I'd like to talk about Motor City. More specifically, what's happening to it?
I'll tell you what's happening to it. It is being slowly ruined by vegetabilists.
Oh, God.
It is.
Look, there are 2 million acres of land in Detroit, OK? Would anybody like to guess how many acres have been given over to allotments? I'll tell you, it's 3.
3 acres.
3 acres.
And he's driven over 2 of them.
Exactly.
Yes, and rightly so. It's like cancer.
It's not like cancer.
It is. It's like saying if you said I've got 2 billion cells in my body and only 3 are cancerous, so I shall do nothing. You don't. You cut them out.
Yeah, but cancer is a serious threat to your health.
Well, so are vegetables.
You do know you're mad.
No,
don't
I tell you what I'm mad about. I'm mad as hell about Detroit. Because in 1960, that was the richest city in America, the richest. And now it is the poorest. And no other city anywhere in the world has collapsed that...
Are big words, man.
Yeah, and they're correct.
Are they?
No, they are. No, for once, I am actually... First time this show, I'm right. Because... that car, you remember the Lamborghini Huracan Performante? OK, that blitzed our track. Absolutely blitzed it. Fastest road car ever round there. I can guarantee the Senna will be quicker.
Oh, here we go again. Good.
I promise it will be. I promise.
If it isn't, can we blow up your house?
I haven't finished building it yet.
When you finish building it, can we blow up your house?
Yes. I am so confident the Senna will be faster that if it isn't, when I finish building my house, you can blow it up again.
You do know that we will. We will do that. We will do that.
We will.
We'll wait till you're in.
Well, what if you fitted the Cullinan with, you know, that magic glass that is clear when you look through it at right angles, but if you look through it at any other angle, it's sort of frosted, so you can't...
That won't work.
How do you know?
Because I've got that, and I genuinely have got that in the bathroom in my flat in London.
Right.
Now, for 6 years, I've been taking showers by the window, cleaning my gentleman's area very thoroughly, and sometimes quite quickly.
OK.
And... they were actually not making this up. The floor is 6 stories down, the pavement. You go, well, I can't see that, so nobody down there can see me. But a friend came round the other day and said, you know, you can be seen from the street and you're in the...
Oh, my God.
Seriously.
But you can't see out when you're in the shower?
No, exactly, I said.
Well, the builder put the glass in the wrong way round, didn't he?
He must have done.
Yeah, I think that builder saw you coming. I think the only answer for Rolls-Royce...
Hold on. I just heard... Is there a phone in there?
No, you had a stroke. Again.
I'm sure I heard a phone. Wait a minute. No,
School alarm, I'm sorry.
Was it you?
No, it's my school alarm, I'm sorry.
Your what alarm?
My school alarm to pick my kids up from school.
Oh, well, you're a terrible parent! Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the art of great parenting.
I was going to say, we're going to call the NSPCC
Oh,
on you. How old are your children?
Oh, 11.
Oh, for God's sake!
She still hasn't moved. Oh, they'll be
9,
fine.
8 and
I wasn't that interested. We've established they're not in their 30s, is what I was trying to say.
These are the symbols of rank. I mean, if you had a sunroof, you were an emperor.
What if it was an electric sunroof?
Oh, my God! You were probably from space. You were a space emperor.
Let me see if I can explain this in a language people under 40 understand, OK? It's the same as going for a job, OK? And your boss saying, we're going to give you a pay cut, but we're going to give you a phone, OK? And this phone you can use to make calls. And then, if you work really hard for a couple of years, we'll give you an iPhone L. And you can use that to make texts as well. And then if you stay with us for 30 years and you never put a foot wrong, you can have an iPhone GXL. Because that's what... I mean, I have no idea which one this is. I mean, is it a 7, an 8, a 9? I don't know.
No, you don't know, but the thing is, under 1970s rules, you would have known, because that would have had a great big chrome GXL badge on.
Yes, and a chrome strip round the outside and fog lights. Here, it
Yeah,
would.
exactly.
It would.
So you would
They
know.
were the badges of rank and everybody could see them, and that was the world we lived in.
My dad, right, when he had the 1600E, he had a minor front-end biff in it, yes? The local Ford garage replaced the damaged grille with one from a 1600 Super. And my dad said, no, it doesn't matter. But it did! It's more important than the Vietnam War!
You were being publicly humiliated.
People are going, they haven't really got a 1600E. Look, there's chrome in it. It is a 1600E. You just put fog lights on it. We haven't. We've really got one, honestly.
These things mattered so much.
Oh, they really did.
Didn't you had a 1600E?
Oh, we did. No, I'm 10 years after my dad sold his. I bought one.
Oh, well done. That was imaginative.
Wasn't my... Says the man whose first car was... Toyota Corolla?
It was a liftback, actually.
Yeah, but my 1600E, I modified it. Okay. I put a Debbie Harry badge in the middle of the steering wheel. Fur-lined doors, wolf race seats, and a chromed sports air filter, which I told my mates, that gives extra 40 horsepower, that does. It did. Really. But I told all my mates it did.
Do you know what you did there?
What?
By fitting those extra bits, like the sports air filter, onto your car, you were effectively calling yourself Jeremy Clarkson OBE when you didn't have one.
Yes. With those fur-lined doors, you had interfered with the class system.
But let's not forget, shall we, you modified your Corolla By driving it into a Volvo?
Yeah, I did do that. I did do that. It was my first crash.
The first of many?
Yes, all right, yes.
Rather set the trend for your life,
Yes,
didn't it?
I got the hang of it.
Defining moment.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
all
like
right.
crashing.
Yes,
I'm going to make
okay.
a living out of this. Oh, there I go again.
And I did.
Oh, exactly. Oh, God.
Do you know, I've never actually owned a Ford.
What?
No.
It's like saying you've never owned your own pen.
I've never bought a stamp.
Yeah, I mean, even I have managed to own a Ford. After I left Birmingham, I moved on, and I had two, but sort of in the same car. The front of one and the back of the other joint. It was absolutely hopeless.
Were they the same colour?
Well, when I bought them, broadly similar, yes, they were. Well, no.
The other Chancellor Hammond.
No, you are. Now, concentrate. Let me put this into context for you. A lot of supercars have arrived on the scene recently. I've got pictures of them. This is the McLaren Speedtail. That's 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
Cost £2.1 million.
And its wheels are odd.
Yeah, they are. They don't match. This is the Aston Martin Valkyrie. That's 1,000 horsepower again. £2.5 million. This one, that's the Ferrari FXXK Evo. 1,000 horsepower, £3.5 million.
Best looking Ferrari of all time,
It
then.
does look amazing. Yeah, it does.
It is absolutely staggering. However, they've all got 1,000 horsepower, which means they will all be undrivable.
Yeah, whereas my Exorcist has 1,000 horsepower and is undrivable for under £100,000. There's no advantage.
Yes, and that's exactly my economic point.
Because you may remember in the very first show of the Grand Tour in the first season, I was blown away by McLaren P1.
Yeah, I do remember. You said it would be faster than the Porsche 918 and the Ferrari, And, no, wait a minute. It wasn't, was it? And as a result, the only thing that got blown away was your house. They would double the money that they make. It's
I've
not
said
that
it
complicated
before.
when you think about it, if you follow the logic.
I've said before, the wrong Hammond is in charge of Britain's...
Yeah. It is incredible. You've got a supply and demand graph. If you take away the demand axis, life becomes much easier when it's all just supply.
Precisely. The Hellcat that I was driving was priced at £67,000.
Yeah.
People are now selling them, that same car, second-hand, for £120,000. And one bloke has advertised one for £500,000. So that means they were too cheap, and I'm right.
It is hard to argue with that.
Unassailable.
And we don't have time, so let's move it on. What?
While the film was on, we've just been online and checked. Thruxton is not the fastest track in Europe.
What?
It's not.
Why isn't it?
Well, it isn't the fastest
Well, it's
track.
the fastest racetrack in Wiltshire.
It's in Hampshire.
You don't even know
It's
that.
in Hampshire.
You
You
don't
don't know
even
where
know
it is.
that. They describe themselves as the fastest track in the south of England.
I mean, after Brexit, it'll be the fastest in Europe.
Right. Anyway.